Un saluto a tutti, buongiorno, la rettrice, vescovi ausiliari, Sua Eminenza, tutti voi studenti, professori. Ho voluto cominciare questa visita stamattina qui nella cappella, questa bella chiesa, punto di incontro con il Signore, perché innanzitutto questa mia visita stamattina è una visita pastorale. Conoscere un po' l'università, conoscere voi, poter salutare e condividere un breve momento nella fede. Chi ricerca, chi studia, chi cerca la verità, alla fine cerca Dio, incontrerà Dio, troverà Dio precisamente nella bellezza della creazione, in tante forme che Dio ha voluto mettere il suo impronto in tutto quello che siamo noi, soprattutto come figlie di Dio, creature fatte nella sua immagine, ma anche nella sua creazione. Allora è un bel momento oggi condividere un po' con la comunità universitaria questo centro di studio, credo che sia il più grande in tutta Europa, e allora veramente una benedizione, un dono di Dio, trovarci qui e vivere un po' questo momento sapendo che è Dio che ci ha chiamati, è Dio che ha dato questa meravigliosa creazione per tutti noi. Vi auguro non solo la giornata, ma un buono studio e che questo tempo che vivete voi in questa università sia davvero per tutti voi un incontro con Dio e la bellezza della vita. Adesso do la benedizione a voi, poi continuiamo un po' la visita ad altri luoghi dell'università. Il Signore sia con voi. Sia benedetto il nome del Signore, il nostro aiuto è nel nome del Signore. E vi benedica Dio Onnipotente, Padre, Figlio e Spirito Santo. Amen. Bene, buona giornata, grazie a voi, grazie per l'accoglienza.
Guarda che se siamo buttati. Cioè nel senso che
poi abbiamo un reperto del corpo docente. Non posso vedere che se il reperto del corpo docente però Massimo
Buongiorno a tutti. Buongiorno. Bene, grazie per l'accoglienza. Sono molto contento di essere qui stamattina con voi. Potrete seguire tutto l'incontro per gli schermi e spero che sia un momento di grazia, un momento di gioia per tutta la comunità della Sapienza. Auguri a voi e ci vediamo dopo.
Mancano solo le scritte, dice un po' a destra e a sinistra. No, mancano. L'avranno tolte. Che hai detto, Walter? No, non ti sento, Walter. Ti sento molto basso, Walter.
Padre Santo ha avuto il piacere di parlare della Sapienza quando era ancora cardinale poche settimane prima.
E la professoressa sono i curatori della mostra insieme alla dottoressa.
Abbiamo fatto una sintesi di 7 secoli, cominciando da Bonifacio VIII che nel 1303 ha fondato lo Studium Urbis, il primo studio generale, perché a Roma c'era una sorta di università, lo studio della politica, ma non era per tutte le discipline. Bonifacio VIII ha aperto la prima università, la bolla originale non c'è, ma c'è questo bullarium antico che riporta la decisione del Papa di aprire a una cultura moderna, poi è questo. La biblioteca alessandrina, fondata più tardi, conserva molte cose, l'archivio di Stato e il museo della Sapienza abbiamo raccolto alcune cose.
La biblioteca alessandrina c'è la nostra testa, è qui al piano di sopra.
E naturalmente non poteva mancare una Bibbia antica come fondamento.
La Bibbia atlantica che è conservata nella nostra biblioteca alessandrina, uno scritto del XV secolo, di Aula Magna, è stato realizzato in un ministero francescano romano che poi Papa Bonifacio VIII l'ha presa per portarla allo Studium Urbis e da quel momento è rimasta nello Studium Urbis e poi è stata depositata in Alessandrina quando è stata fondata dal Papacy VII, quindi questo è il manoscritto.
Naturalmente come sa c'è stato il periodo di Milesi per la distanza del Papa. Nel 411 c'è stata una bella esperienza perché Papa non sapeva chiamare grandezza e qui è documentata la presenza di Lorenzo Laura e di Pope Leo. C'è un documento che attesta il pagamento, c'era tutta l'amministrazione e quindi è un documento del 400 che attesta come funzionava un po' l'università.
Una tassa dedicata allo studio Urbis che era Gabriele Studi e derivava dall'acquisto del vino forestiero.
Quindi la tassa sul vino finanziava
la sostenibilità d'altronde andava garantita.
Qui invece abbiamo un matrimonio di Leone X che vuole istituire nel studio Urbis una cappella dedicata ai Santi Leone e Fortunato e decide che appunto è necessario avere uno spazio per Urbis. Poi in realtà questa cappella non verrà costruita e sarà adibita la cappella a un'aula dell'università.
Ecco, ne possiamo per ricordare un suo predecessore di nome Rector. Nel 500 Leone X, il figlio di Lorenzo il Magnifico, il grande umanista, ha davvero dato un e la Sapienza si è cresciuta, ha cominciato anche a costruirsi gli edifici e c'è un documento che attesta questo perché ha visto l'idea della cappella, quindi anche uno spazio sacro che però era provvisorio. Questo impulso ha fatto sì che l'edificio che si trova a percorso di Rinascimento nell'antico quartiere anche delle banche, pian piano costruire l'edificio che oggi è invece diventato archivio di Stato, quando la città universitaria è sostituita. E i papi hanno chiamato grandi architetti. Tra questi Urbano VIII ha chiamato Francesco Bolognini. Abbiamo un'immagine fondale del cortile con la cupola, la famosa chiocciola che in realtà trasforma la torre di Codè in torre della Sapienza. E in cima c'è lo stemma di questo e qui c'è un documento sull'architetto.
Racconta il senso dell'architetto, perché questa è una richiesta dell'architetto al rettore per il pagamento agli scritti, perché lui dirige questa fabbrica dal 1642, la costruzione della chiesa del 1642, questa è una lettera del 43, quindi abbiamo approfondito anche la grafia di Leone, veramente molto interessante.
C'è una sezione particolarmente interessante.
Sì,
perché...
esatto. Professore, questa è la sezione che abbiamo dedicato ai monumenti ai didattica e le varie materie insegnate sono i cosiddetti rotoli o ruoli, perché venivano rotolati in occasione dell'inaugurazione dell'anno accademico, venivano offerti dal Rettore al Pontefice e nei documenti si raccontava appunto quali erano i docenti, da dove provenivano, quali erano le materie che venivano insegnate e con un apparato ovviamente decorativo che faceva riferimento al Pontefice, quindi con le imprese del Pontefice nel momento, che lo raccontavano come dispensatore del sapere nel secolo.
Pergamena miniata, quindi anche materiale pregiato, e la cosa interessante i nomi dei professori, e ci sono anche gli orari, gli stipendi, e quindi è una sorta di sintesi che veniva messa sulla porta
Questi invece sono i nostri.
del Rettore.
Questi sono della nostra università, ma sono gli altri conservati all'Archivio di Stato, che sono questi sono soltanto 4 esemplari, ma in realtà sono di più, sono 59 conservati. Abbiamo raccolto quelli che ci sembrano più interessanti relativamente ai diversi materiali e anche alla decorazione.
Ci sono già dal 500 e fino all'800. E qui entriamo in un'altra fase. Dopo la costruzione universitaria, Alessandro VII era della studentessa, realizzò due cose: l'orto botanico della Sapienza, e vediamo qui la realizzazione di un orto botanico, esisteva già un orto precedente ma non era universitario, e c'è il disegno dell'orto impiantato al Gianicolo, anche con gli uffici, con tutte le piante officinali. Si vede la mostra dell'acqua Paola che affaccia su Roma, è un disegno che entra nel dettaglio anche delle essenze. E poi la seconda scelta di Alessandro VII è quella di fondare la Biblioteca alessandrina, la direttrice.
Alessandro VII è ricordato come il pacificatore di Westfalia, perché aveva partecipato come illustrazione pontificio alla stesura del trattato di pace di Westfalia. E allora nella facciata della chiesa di Santa Maria della Pace viene ricordato Alessandro VII proprio come il pacificatore. E allora anche la costruzione della biblioteca in fondo è un documento, un'attestazione di ricerca di pace, e in questo senso all'interno della Sapienza è stato sempre rispettato enormemente. E la Biblioteca Alessandrina poi ha avuto, grazie alla Sapienza, fondi di professori, di rettori, ed è una biblioteca veramente molto ricca di documenti anche antichi e moderni.
Ecco, e qui ci sono alcuni documenti, naturalmente, l'elezione del custode, i libri che non si trovano.
Sì, l'elenco dei libri
Che non ci trovano.
Sì, sottratti.
E poi il regolamento, i libri.
Resi, il controllo dei resi.
Con il secolo di luglio, il Settecento, naturalmente i papi favorirono le scienze, e di cattedre di matematica e di fisica, e qui ci sono anche i documenti che attestano. Quindi il pontificato segue anche l'evolversi della cultura e vuole che l'università sia aggiornata, per questo istituisce queste cattedre e si comincia l'istituzione di alcuni musei scientifici che poi vengono implementati nell'Ottocento.
Qui siamo ancora nel 600, questo è l'attestato del conferimento di laurea a Uncisi, che è stato chiarato artificio, una figura di riferimento per la storia della medicina, in particolare dell'anatomia. È stato allievo dello studio Murdis e poi docente dello studio Murdis, ha insegnato anatomia ma anche medicina, e a fianco a questo documento abbiamo voluto esporre questo manoscritto che fa riferimento a un testo precedente di Michele Mercati, che era stato incaricato nel 500 di raccogliere minerali preziosi, gemme che dovevano essere esposte in Vaticano, e però lui non pubblica mai questo testo, che invece viene pubblicato.
Questo è il modo proprio con cui istituisce le carte di fisica e di matematica benedetto XIV.
Mentre questa è una bolla che si inserisce sempre allo stesso pontificato in cui lui in qualche modo conferma i privilegi e i diritti del collegio degli avvocati magisteriali.
C'è un calendario, quindi per mostrare anche tutti gli aspetti organizzativi, manoscritti e stampa. Il manoscritto è stato usato molto a lungo, nonostante la stampa fosse sviluppata a Roma sin dalla fine del 400. Nell'Ottocento i musei universitari si moltiplicano e Papa Leone XII incrementa proprio questo, tanto che c'è un dono del Papa Leone XII che ora dimostriamo. Quindi lo studio di anatomia e poi a fine 800 anche il sostegno alla lettura, alla cultura, il Papa Leone XIII pur dall'esterno favorisce
La laurea possiamo vedere qui l'immagine che si conserva attualmente nel nostro museo di mineralogia, che però il Pontefice dona all'antica sede del museo, che si trova nel Palazzo della Sapienza, istituito da Pio VII Chiaramonti per appunto valorizzare queste collezioni. Questa era la sua collezione privata che viene donata all'università e ancora oggi in città universitaria noi abbiamo la possibilità di ammirare questo meraviglioso scritto.
Possiamo dire che il diretto rapporto del papato con la Sapienza il 20 settembre e il nuovo Stato unitario rivendica la velocità, quindi si interrompe una relazione, ma tuttavia il rapporto non si ferma per vari motivi, fino a come dirlo in sintesi, fino al momento in cui viene costruita la nuova città universitaria. Non si costruisce subito, ma si allestisce a giurisprudenza, quindi nel centro della legge un'aula adibita a cappella, quindi lo spazio per il culto non scompare, anche se invece la chiesa di San Piero della Sapienza viene chiusa fino al 1996. Però naturalmente questa esigenza matura e il rettore, ascoltando anche le istanze presentate da Monsignor Montini, qui c'è una foto del Monsignor Montini che per la segreteria lui era sostituto allora, media, anche perché il Papa Pio XII vuol sostenere e concede anche dei finanziamenti per la costruzione del cappello. Si cerca uno spazio e lo stesso Centini, che è l'architetto della città universitaria, costruisce e si vede qui la fase della costruzione e la cappella che lei ha appena visitato è il centro della preghiera e della vita religiosa della Sapienza. Quindi con questo grazie a lei, è stato un piacere. Padre Santo, l'aspettiamo alla comunità di Sant'Egidio. Grazie della sua presenza.
Quindi adesso
Di qua credo. Di qua c'è.
Laudate Jesus Christus, praised be Jesus Christ. Hello and welcome to this live broadcast of Pope Leo's visit to Rome's Sapienza University. This university was founded in 1303 by Pope Boniface VIII. It's one of the very best universities in Italy. And Pope Leo is about to address the members of the university, professors, students here in the hall of the university. He's been here for about an hour. He's had a busy schedule already. He visited the university chapel. He greeted some students. He had a private meeting with a magnificent rector. That's Professor Antonella Polimeni, who's there next to him. The Pope now walking into the hall here. Big round of applause from all the students, professors and other people gathered. And what we're going to hear now is two speeches, one from the magnificent rector and one from the Pope. The applause is still going on, and we're expecting this part to take maybe half an hour. They're two fairly long speeches. The Pope's just been at an exhibition showcasing the relationship between the Sapienza University and the Papacy. As I said, the university was founded in 1303 by the popes, and because Rome was run by the Papacy for so long, this was a pontifical university for a very long time. It's now a secular university, but that relationship, as we can see, is still strong with the Papacy. And now we'll hear from the magnificent rector of the Sapienza. I sincerely thank His Holiness Pope Leo XIV for this visit, which honors our university and further strengthens the bond between Sapienza and the Holy See, and with the community of the faithful, who finds in the person of the Pontiff a steadfast spiritual guide and pastoral point of reference, and, more generally, with all those who recognize in his teaching a universal call to the values of human dignity, fraternity, solidarity, and respect among peoples. The visit takes place at a particularly delicate moment in our recent history, while the echoes and consequences of wars call us to unavoidable reflections on values that are threatened, humiliated, and forgotten, yet, for all of us, indispensable. These are the values of freedom, peace, democracy, and solidarity. And yet, as St. Augustine says, Nos sumus tempora, quales sumus, talia sunt tempora. Or, we are the times, as we are, so are the times. Urging us, in contexts just as difficult as the end of the Western Roman Empire, not to complain about the wickedness of the times, but to improve ourselves in order to make them better. Your presence here today, your tireless commitment in favor of unity among peoples, Holy Father, encourages us, gives us confidence, and pushes us to further strengthen Sapienza's already strong commitment to building paths of dialogue and sharing. Thank you. The bond between Sapienza and the Church of Rome is inseparable, ancient and, at the same time, alive and current. It is a historical journey that runs through the history of the city and of the entire country, as we had the opportunity to appreciate in the exhibition Sapienza and the Popes, which was set up in the spaces of this rectorate. Sapienza was founded on April 20th, 1303, when Pope Boniface VIII established the Studium Orbis with the bull In Suprema Praeeminentia Dignitatis. From its very origins, our university has been deeply linked to the popes, who made it a reflection of their policy of cultural education and promotion of knowledge. It would be Pope Benedict XIV who would further open the university to the scientific disciplines, a choice that would continue in the 19th century with the establishment and enrichment of the university museums dedicated to mineralogy, zoology and physics. In the heart of the Baroque age, the university space was renewed with the construction of the Church of St. Ivo alla Sapienza and the Alessandrian Library, which were both designed by Francesco Borromini. And it is no coincidence that the cherub historically represents our university as an ancient icon of wisdom inspired by the symbols of knowledge present in the frescoes of Sant'Ivo. Even today, the cherub symbolically watches over this great hall and the meeting it hosts, reminding us how knowledge can be at once spiritual openness for those who believe and the highest expression of the human capacity to question the world and understand reality. With the national unification in 1870 and the recognition of Rome as the capital, Sapienza became part of the educational model of a new state, reaffirming a central role in the study of medicine and the scientific disciplines, as well as the humanities, philosophy, social sciences and law. From 1935 onward, it was transferred to its current location, designed by Marcello Piacenti, the University City. Then began the dramatic period in which the Sapienza was marked by the rise of the fascist regime and its forms of ideological and cultural organization, culminating in the application, even in our university, of the racial laws of 1938, one of the most inhuman pages in 20th century Italian and European history. In the post-war period, with the democratic rebirth and the founding of the Republic of Italy, Sapienza fully regained its place as its role rather as a place of inclusion, knowledge and sharing, embarking on a path aimed at affirming its identity as a public, secular and comprehensive university. During these years, the city of Rome expressed its universal vocation as in a fruitful encounter between the religious forms proposed by the Church, such as the Jubilees and the Second Vatican Council, and fully secular expressions. Sapienza assumed an essential role as a bridge between these vocations, gathering and opening itself to ideas, dialogues, and interreligious and intercultural proposals. Since then, our compass has always been the Constitution of the Republic of Italy, its secular framework, which is capable of building a fruitful relationship between religious presences and the processes of nation building. It's important to remember this today, only a few years after the celebrations marking the 80th anniversary of the birth of the Republic. Distinction and collaboration between faith and reason, church and state, belief and knowledge in the common striving toward the ethics of knowledge and know-how. This historical bond with the city and with the church is nourished by a strong sharing of ideas, cultures and values. It is precisely in this perspective that the integration of knowledge acquires its full meaning, to which the Augustinian expression in illo uno unum also refers, which was chosen by Pope Leo as his episcopal motto. This is a vision we feel profoundly close to. This is a vision that we feel is profoundly close to the mission of our university, a place where ideas, experiences, religions, identities, and different origins coexist and engage in a dialogue in the construction of a community founded on pluralism, respect, and the sharing of knowledge. It is a commitment we have developed over the years and which is reflected in the teaching, research, and third and fourth mission activities of our departments and faculties. These activities stem precisely from the recognition of the fundamental principles of the Italian Constitution that inspire the University Statute, according to which Sapienza operates by guaranteeing respect for the dignity of the human person and the pluralism of ideas, protecting the full freedom of ideas and the expression of political, trade union, and religious freedoms. All of this is an essential part of the social function that Sapienza performs in contributing to the construction of an open, democratic, and inclusive society, in offering students free and critical learning, in elevating the scientific and cultural knowledge of humanity, and in building, together with the city of Rome and all the partners with whom we collaborate, the profound meaning of a shared journey, an educational community for the individual and for society, which, through what we have defined as our fourth mission, defines the horizon of a constant and widespread commitment at valuing differences and building a supportive, inclusive society which is close to people. These values and guiding principles which unite us with the Church of Rome, as repeatedly recalled by the Pontiff on many occasions, are expressed in the daily life of our university. For the sake of brevity, I will limit myself here to only recalling two representative elements. The first concerns the very meaning of knowledge in an increasingly complex and fragmented society. Knowledge is one of the principal strategic infrastructures of contemporary society, and universities are the places where this infrastructure is built, maintained, innovated, and handed down. It represents the constitutive axis of individual and collective freedom because it is capable of generating forms of freedom, linking itself to the concepts of autonomy and responsibility toward the community in which we live. In this sense, knowledge is the cornerstone for building open and democratic societies capable of including rather than excluding. Faced with today's opportunities and growing difficulties in using new technologies in an ethically correct way that does not generate further inequalities, the task of the university is not only to produce knowledge, but to teach how to interpret information, presenting itself as the stronghold where minds capable of understanding the complexity of the world are formed. In this vision, students occupy a central position. The right to education represents one of the founding principles of any public university and directly recalls the provisions of Article 34 of our Constitution. In promoting this principle, our university has increased in recent years its policies in favor of the most disadvantaged students, allocating significant resources for this purpose. This desire to combine knowledge and equity has become even more relevant in light of the rapid changes of recent years. The emergence from the pandemic, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the resurgence of the conflict in the Middle East, the growth in Italy as in other European societies of the phenomena of intolerance and discrimination, not to mention the new forms of inequality generated by unequal and unbalanced access to algorithms and new technologies. These events have pushed us to further develop our goal of social responsibility. Knowledge is wise when it is responsible, respectful, and sincere, when it does not merely provide answers, but has the courage to ask and pose questions, and when it never ceases to question the meaning of its own action. The second element I would like to briefly recall concerns the commitment that unites us in building paths of peace and dialogue. A few years ago, speaking to the Pontifical Ecclesial Academy, the Pope recalled that in defending human rights, it is necessary to pursue the path not of confrontation, but of safeguarding the dignity of the person, the development of peoples, and international cooperation, which are the only instruments capable of initiating authentic paths of peace. Thank you, Your Holiness, because your words strongly remind us of a responsibility that transcends particular interests, affiliations, and oppositions, and bring us back to the universal value of human dignity, dialogue, and peace. All of this is part of our mission and a defining feature of our university. If it is true that knowledge and education are the only way to become truly free, it is equally true that freedom becomes fragile in a world without peace. This is even more evident for an institution such as ours, because the freedom of scientific research, teaching, collaboration, and the exchange of knowledge presupposes contexts in which disagreements and conflict do not translate into violence, but into discussion. There is no knowledge without peace, because learning arises from dialogue, from the possibility of sharing ideas, testing hypotheses, recognizing in the other not an adversary to defeat, but an interlocutor with whom to build and test provisional convictions. The many initiatives for peace and cooperation carried out by the Sapienza move in this direction. The National Doctorate in Peace Studies, the welcoming of professors and students from countries at war, threatened, or discriminated against in various parts of the planet, the agreement with the University of Bethlehem, the concert hosted just last Monday in this great hall, which saw musicians from the Magnificat Conservatory of Jerusalem and the music school of Scampia perform together through the sound of the instruments of the sea, which were created from the wood of migrant boats that landed on the coast of the Mediterranean, and thus became symbols of memory, dialogue, and hope. And also the collaboration with the Diocese of Rome and the community of Sant'Egidio in support of students from Palestine, with the first 4 young people arriving in Rome just last Tuesday, and they are with us here today.
Sono solo alcune delle iniziative più recenti.
These are just some of the most recent initiatives through which our university has chosen to concretely promote a culture of dialogue, cooperation and peace. The Sapienza has also placed itself at the service of women, children and young people who have experienced the horror of war, providing care in our university hospital to minors and families from the Gaza Strip. We do all of this because we are aware of the specific responsibility of universities where conflict can and must be transformed into discussion. Difference can become a resource and complexity can be understood and not trivialized, where peace is not only invoked but also practiced through dialogue among disciplines, through international cooperation that neither isolates nor humiliates any university or researcher. We do all this because contributing to the construction of a peaceful society is the most important contribution the university can offer, working daily to strengthen a culture of dialogue and respect against hatred and discrimination. I once again thank His Holiness Pope Leo XIV, who, in the exercise of his Munus Petrinum, has given our community the gift of his pastoral visit. This further strengthens the bond between Sapienza and the Church of Rome and renews a shared message of dialogue among cultures, religions and generations, a message of peace and hope for the future of humanity. To hope is possible, to hope is necessary. So that was the greeting there from the magnificent rector of the Sapienza University, Professor Antonella Polimeni, and we'll now hear Pope Leo's remarks. We're here in the Great Hall of Sapienza University, which was founded in 1303 by Pope Boniface VIII. And now we'll hear from Pope Leo. Magnificent rector, political and civil authorities, distinguished professors, researchers and technical administrative staff, and above all, dear students. I accepted with great joy the invitation to meet the university community of the Sapienza University of Rome. Your university stands out as a center of excellence in various disciplines, and at the same time, for its commitment to the right to education, including for those with fewer economic means, people with disabilities, prisoners, and those who have fled war zones. For example, I greatly appreciate that the Diocese of Rome and the Sapienza have recently signed an agreement for the opening of a university humanitarian corridor from the Gaza Strip. It is therefore important for me, who have been Bishop of Rome for just over a year, to be able to meet you. With a pastor's heart, I would first like to address the students and then the professors. The avenues of the university campus, which I crossed to arrive here, are traversed every day by many young people and inhabited by contrasting emotions. I imagine you at times carefree, joyful in your very youthfulness, which, even in a troubled world marked by terrible injustices, allows you to feel that the future is still to be written and that no one can steal it from you. These studies you pursue, the friendships born during these years, and the encounter with various important thinkers become a promise of what can change ourselves for the better, even before changing the reality around us. When the desire for truth becomes a search, our boldness in study bears witness to our hope for a new world. You know that I am spiritually connected to Saint Augustine, who was a restless young man. He also made serious mistakes, but none of his passion for beauty and wisdom was lost. In this regard, I was pleased to receive from you a great number of questions, hundreds. Obviously, it is not possible to answer them all, but I keep them in mind, wishing each of you to seek more opportunities for dialogue. This too is why university chaplaincies exist, for faith to encounter your questions. However, restlessness also has a sorrowful face. We must not hide from ourselves that many young people are suffering. Everyone experiences difficult seasons, yet some may have the impression that they will never end. Today, this increasingly depends on the blackmail of expectations and the pressure of performance. It is the pervasive lie of a distorted system that reduces people to numbers by intensifying competitiveness and abandoning us to the spirals of anxiety. Precisely this spiritual unease of many young people reminds us that we are not the sum of what we possess, nor matter randomly assembled into a mute cosmos. We are a desire, not an algorithm. It is precisely this special dignity of ours that leads me to share with you two questions. To you young people, this sense of unease asks, who are you? Being ourselves, in fact, is the characteristic commitment of the life of every man and woman. Who are you is the question that we ask one another. It is the question we silently ask God, the question to which only we ourselves can respond for ourselves, yet one to which we can never respond alone. We are our relationships, our language, our culture. All the more reason why the university years must be a time of great encounters. Therefore, to those who are older, youthful unease asks, what kind of war are we leaving behind? What kind of world are we leaving behind? A world unfortunately disfigured by wars and by words of war. This is a pollution of reason which, from the geopolitical sphere, invades every social relationship. The simplification that creates enemies must therefore be corrected, especially in universities, through care for complexity and the wise exercise of memory.
Il grido mai più la guerra dei miei predecessori, così consonante.
In particular, the tragedy of the 20th century must not be forgotten. The cry "never again war" of my predecessors, so consonant with the rejection of war enshrined in the Italian constitution, urges us toward a spiritual alliance with the sense of justice that dwells in the hearts of the young, with their vocation not to shut themselves within ideologies and national borders. For example, over the last year, the growth in military spending in the world, and particularly in Europe, has been enormous. Let us not call defense a rearmament that increases tensions and insecurity, impoverishes investments in education and health, undermines trust in diplomacy, and enriches elites who care nothing for the common good. It is also necessary to be vigilant regarding the development and application of artificial intelligence in military and civilian fields, so that it does not deresponsabilize human choices and worsen the tragedy of conflicts. What is happening in Ukraine, in Gaza, and in Palestine, in Lebanon, and in Iran is the inhuman evolution of the relationship between war and new technologies, in a spiral of annihilation. Let study, research, and investment move in the opposite direction. Let them be a radical yes to life, yes to innocent life, yes to young life, yes to the life of peoples who invoke peace and justice. A second front of common commitment concerns ecology. As Pope Francis told us in the encyclical Laudato Si, there is a very solid scientific consensus indicating that we are presently witnessing a disturbing warming of the climate system. More than a decade has passed since then, and despite our good intentions and some efforts directed toward this goal, the situation does not appear to have improved. In this context, I encourage especially you, dear young people, not to yield to resignation, but instead to transform restlessness into prophecy. Especially those who believe in particular know that history does not helplessly fall into the hands of death, but is always safeguarded, whatever happens, by a God who creates life from nothingness, who gives without taking, and who shares without consuming. Today, it is precisely the implosion of a possessive and consumerist paradigm that clears the field for what is new and already sprouting forth. Therefore, study, cultivate, and safeguard justice. Together with me and with many of your brothers and sisters, be artisans of true peace, a peace that is unarmed and disarming.
Così lavorando alla concordia tra I popoli e alla custodia della terra. C'è bisogno di tutta la vostra intelligenza e audacia.
And in this way work for harmony among peoples and for the care of the earth. There is need for all your intelligence and boldness. You, in fact, can help those who came before you to restore an authentic horizon of meaning, so that we do not stop at yet another rapid snapshot of the situation in which we find ourselves. We must move from interpretation to action. So little valued by society with ever fewer children, you bear witness that humanity is capable of a future when it builds with wisdom. Your university, which bears a divine name, is a place of study and a seat of experimentation that, for centuries, has formed people in critical thought. In particular, your professors can cultivate fruitful contact with the minds and the hearts of young people. This is certainly a demanding responsibility, but also an exciting one. It is of the utmost importance to believe in your students. Therefore, ask yourselves often, do I trust them? Just as conscience can be. It means always and in every circumstance loving human life, valuing its possibilities, and thus speaking to the hearts of young people without aiming only at their knowledge. Teaching becomes bearing witness to values through one's life. It is care for reality. It is a sense of welcome toward what is not yet understood. It is telling the truth. Besides, what sense would there be in training a researcher or a professional who does not cultivate his or her own conscience, their sense of justice, and respect for what can neither be nor ought to be dominated. Knowledge, in fact, serves not only to achieve professional goals, but to discern who one is. Through lectures, internships, and interaction with the city, through theses and doctoral studies, every student can always find new motivations, bringing order between study and life, between means and ends. Dearest friends, while I encourage you in this daily exercise, my visit wishes to be a sign of a new educational alliance between the church that is in Rome and your prestigious university, which was born and grew precisely within the church. I assure all of you of my remembrance in prayer, and from my heart I invoke upon the entire Sapienza community the Lord's blessing. Thank you. So that was Pope Leo's address to the community of Rome Sapienza University. The Pope is receiving a standing ovation, it looks like, from the people here in attendance. They were clapping during his speech, and now a very long round of applause at the end of the speech. Everyone here on their feet. We're coming towards the end of the Pope's visit to the university. There may be an exchange of gifts now with a representative of the students. And then after that he'll be heading back to the Vatican, probably.
Il dono della Sapienza a Papa Leone XIV.
So it's now this is the present that the Sapienza is giving to the Pope, which is being explained in Italian.
La riproduzione di un raro esempio epigrafico in lingua greca che riporta una citazione
the Pope has been given
di un passo delle Sacre Scritture dal Vangelo secondo Luca,
a Greek
capitolo 23, versetto
text
42.
which cites from the Bible.
Otaneltes ente basileia su. Signore, ricordati di me quando entrerai nel tuo regno.
And Lord, remember me when you go into your kingdom, is what's written on the text that's about to be given to the Pope.
In un contesto che richiama l'area della crocifissione, alla quale il testo si lega in modo particolarmente significativo. Il dono realizzato dal laboratorio Officine Museali, Polo Museale Sapienza Cultura, è custodito in una cassetta in legno d'ulivo realizzata a mano dagli artigiani Sapienza. Dal 2022 la Sapienza è impegnata, su invito delle comunità religiose custodi del luogo, in un progetto di ricerca e di scavo archeologico presso il Santo Sepolcro. Il progetto
These are just more details about the gift that's about to be given to the Pope, which we should be seeing in a second. It's just being introduced to the Pope.
Esso rappresenta un modello di cooperazione internazionale fondato su equilibrio istituzionale, rigore scientifico e rispetto delle diverse tradizioni. Il dono di Papa Leone all'Università Sapienza.
And now this is the Pope's gift to the university.
La traduzione latina del testo greco, redazione A, della geografia di Claudio Tolomeo, secondo secolo d.C., eseguita da Jacopo Angeli da Scarperia, circa 1360-1410. Cosmografia è il termine scelto dal traduttore per il titolo, sulla base dell'uso di altri autori latini per opere dello stesso tipo. Il codice fu vergato.
And it looks like what the Pope has given to the university community is a version of a 2nd century text.
Miniatori, entrambi noti per le rispettive botteghe specializzate nella produzione di mappe e opere geografiche. Preziosa l'ornamentazione, a cominciare dal frontespizio, con l'indicazione del titolo e del traduttore in oro su fondo azzurro, all'interno di una ricca cornice. L'incipit della premessa del traduttore è arricchito da bordure in oro e colore che corrono lungo i margini, costituite da elementi floreali, putti con candelabre, motivo ricorrente anche nelle iniziali del testo, e medaglioni, e dalla miniatura raffigurante il traduttore che offre l'opera a Papa Alessandro V. L'incipit di ciascun libro è marcato da splendide iniziali miniate, cornici colorate inquadrano i testi introduttivi che precedono le carte geografiche. Il codice faceva parte della biblioteca di Federico da Montefeltro, duca di Urbino, che acquistata da Papa Alessandro VII.
So, as I said, this is just to the people who are gathered here. It's now being explained the gifts that the Pope and the University are going to exchange in a moment. This is the last event of the Pope's visit. You can see there being brought on a table the gifts. We're here in the Great Hall of Sapienza University. Exchange of gifts taking place. As I was mentioning earlier, this is a secular university, it's a state university, so no longer any official connection to the church. But it's a university that was founded, as I mentioned, by a pope, and for centuries was run by the Catholic Church. And as we were hearing earlier from the magnificent rector, it was the popes also who brought in modern scientific learning. So I think she mentioned it was Pope Benedict XIV who brought in a renewed focus on the scientific disciplines, and further expanded, that was then further expanded in the 19th century through the establishment of university museums dedicated to mineralogy, zoology and physics. It was in 1870 that with the establishment of the Kingdom of Italy, and so Rome was taken away from the Papal States and became part of the new country of Italy. This became a secular, a public university. But as we can see right now with the Pope and the magnificent rector smiling at one another and exchanging gifts, it's still a close relationship. The relationship was re-established in the post-war period when a chapel was opened here in the university dedicated to the Divine Wisdom, which is also the name of the Sapienza University. Sapienza means wisdom in Italian. And as we heard in both the speeches just a moment ago, still a close relationship, and I think a relationship that rests on a lot of mutual respect. The bishops you could see in the front row there, if you're following this via television, are the auxiliary bishops of Rome. Of course, the Pope is the Bishop of Rome. He has a cardinal vicar, who you might have seen in the background at some points of this broadcast. That's Cardinal Reina, who, because the Pope obviously is busy a lot of the time, the cardinal vicar takes responsibility for running the diocese, and then there are also these auxiliary bishops who run the various areas of the city, and you might have seen those a moment ago sitting in the front row here in the Aula Magna. And we'll just take a moment to listen to this choir performance. And if I'm not mistaken, these are the students from the Gaza Strip, which were mentioned earlier in speeches from both the Magnificent Rector and the Pope. This new collaboration with working with the Diocese of Rome and working with Sant'Egidio, which is a Catholic lay community, which is all over the world, but particularly in Rome. And they managed to bring a group of students from Gaza here to Rome to study the Sapienza. And they're part, I think, of this delegation of students that's now coming up to greet the Pope. Quite a lot of them, it looks like. Just all taking a moment to come up, shake hands with the Pope. And speaking to him quickly before the Pope leaves. As I said, this will be the last event of his visit. we heard a very powerful speech from Pope Leo, and a lot of it was dedicated precisely to the students that he's now greeting. There was a part at the end where he was speaking to the professors, but he was speaking to students for a lot of the speech. He talked about university and the importance of the friendships that come out of these years. And also he mentioned the encounter with various important thinkers. He talked about restlessness and the questions that young people often have, which he said are a great thing. He said that's why university chaplaincies exist, so that students can bring these questions kind of in and think about them from a faith point of view. There was a student a moment ago, and this one now is also presenting a Sant'Egidio badge to the Pope. Sant'Egidio is this community, I mentioned, this lay Catholic community in Rome, which has been involved with bringing the Palestinian students to the Sapienza University. Lots of hands to shake for the Pope, it looks like. It looks like perhaps all of the students that were here in the Great Hall of the university are getting a chance to come up and greet the Pope. But yeah, as I was mentioning, so the Pope addressed these students just a moment ago. He said there were two important questions that he wanted to think about. So one is the question, who are you? He talked about the importance of being ourselves. And he said this is also the question that we silently ask God. He said it's a question that we can't respond to ourselves. It's one to which we have to consider along with other people as part of a community. The Pope, by the way, has now finished greeting the students here. He's waving one last time. Everyone is back on their feet. Another standing ovation just to greet the Pope before he leaves. And he's now heading out of the university along with the Rector. That behind him there, that's Cardinal Baldorena. For those of you following on television, you might have seen the red hat. He's the Vicar General of Rome, the Cardinal Vicar. So it's lasted over an hour, I think not quite 2 hours, this visit to the Sapienza University. He visited the chapel, he met with students. That part wasn't televised, I don't think. He then had a private meeting with the Rector, which also wasn't televised. And now, thank you, the Pope says. This last greeting after the visit this morning, I would like to invite all of you. Let's work together. We're all builders of peace in the world. Let us work, let us study from our relationships with our friends, our words, our way of thinking. Let's do this with the idea of building peace in the world. Always have hope in the possibility of building a new world. Thank you for being here, and goodbye. So those were the Pope's words here, just greeting some of the students who are out here in the square. This is Aldo Moro Square in Rome, and it's the new seat of the university, which transferred out here in the 1930s. The university goes back to the 14th century. This building is a lot more recent than that. Goes back to the 1930s. Pope Leo now about to get back in the car. You can see the SCV, the Vatican City license plates on the car. And I think with that we can bring an end to this live broadcast of Pope Leo's visit to Rome's Sapienza University. We heard two very in-depth, very thought-provoking speeches, one from the Rector of the university and one from Pope Leo. You can find those shortly on Vatican.va and also summaries on the Vatican News website. Thank you to all of you for listening, especially to those of you who joined us via our official partner radio and television stations, EWTN TV, Catholic Faith Network, Salt and Light TV, Shalom World TV, Atmadashan TV, and Catholic TV. For more on any of this, you can visit our website at vaticannews.va, and please do also take a look at our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. Just search for Vatican News or Vatican News English. I'm Joseph Tulloch. Thank you very much for tuning into the broadcast today. Laudetur Jesus Christus, praised be Jesus Christ.